Oh, nice piece of kit you got there. Thanks. It's good to see someone revive a camera from the 70s. Well, actually, it's not. Gosh, is it just me or is this place unreal? I'm glad you're capturing it on film because being here makes me feel like I'm in some kind of simulation. Well, actually, speaking of simulations, if you come and take a look over here, I can show you how. Oh no, you don't want me anywhere near the camera. That's a recipe for disaster. Well, actually, speaking of recipes, well, nice chat with you. I'm sure if you're shooting with a camera like that these days, the shot will come out fun-dabby-dozy. Strange guy. Who still shoots on film? That guy was crazy. Personally, I can't even begin to tell you how many conversations like that I have had over the years of owning my X100F. But at this point, I've pretty much given up on trying to correct someone when they mistake it for a film camera. Sometimes it's just better to let people live in their own fantasies. So if you ever decide to get an X100 series camera, I can pretty much guarantee you that you're gonna run into a situation like that sooner or later. And yeah, you know, I'll let you decide how you want to handle that. But the point is that Fujifilm made the X100 series from a very distinct, opinionated point of view. So they stand out as cameras. They're very distinguishable. Since we fooled our Scottish friend into thinking that this is a film camera, we'll start with the obvious. Film simulations. This is the killer feature that brought me into the Fuji world in the first place because, you know, that look that you can get from digital photography by default can often feel kind of flat and lifeless. So the magic of film simulations is that you now get to see on the spot these beautiful artistic interpolations of color that Fujifilm has spent a ton of resources recreating from their legendary film stock that has been used for decades, and we now get to benefit from that. You know, it still brings a smile to my face to be able to change the emotional tone of a shot simply by switching from the upbeat vibrance of Velvia to the cinematic moodiness of classic chrome. It's almost like each simulation is like a unique visual emotion, if you will. And being able to tinker with that on camera versus in post creates what I feel is a more direct relationship between you as the photographer and the scene that you want to capture. And the camera is the go-between in the middle of that relationship. And as photographers, I believe we should always be looking for ways to reduce resistance in that relationship. And if there's a tool like film simulations that helps you to do that, which, you know, definitely has for me, then I think we should embrace it. All in all, the film simulations that my X100F has given me access to has really reinvigorated my love for photography because I feel like there are now fewer obstacles in the way of my vision, both creatively and technically. One of the best things about the X100F, honestly, is just the way that it feels in your hands when you're looking through it. And the second best thing is just its overall good looks when you're looking at it. Both of these factors play into each other that creates this combination that's really hard to put into words, but I would sum it up as, you know, for me, the sense of inspiring confidence when you're physically handling it and just a sense of pure joy when you're looking at it. And what I've come to is that this X factor, if you want to call it that, it creates this intuitive kind of effect that really makes me want to pick it up and play with it and use it to do the very thing that it is designed to do: take photos. What I think is critical for any everyday kind of camera is to be able to fill in the 10x ratio, is what my own theory, made up. And that is, it needs to be 10 times better than carrying around a big, heavy, awkward DSLR, while also giving you 10 times better the user experience and quality that you would get from a smartphone. Essentially, it is the perfect camera that sits in between a DSLR and a smartphone. So if you're looking for a camera to fill in that gap for you, then absolutely, this could be it. It's significantly reduced my smartphone photography, and as a result, I've ended up taking so many casual shots in the moment that have actually ended up becoming some of my favorite shots of all time. The X100F at this point has become one of the premier street photography cameras of the 21st century, I would say, and for good reason. You know, it's such an unassuming package that lets you fly incognito on any city streets in the world while also packing a ton of modern technology and convenience. I did make a video about my first time trying street photography with my X100F, so make sure to go check that out after you watch this video to the end. But the short answer is that it's amazing for that. Whenever I take portraits with the X100F, I know that I am getting professional level quality out of this thing, but the person that I'm shooting almost always finds it so endearing because of the way that it looks. And it immediately becomes a conversation starter and puts them at ease. And this is where the X100F's good looks actually do serve a function. In fact, using only the X100F, I shot an entire series of portraits for a retreat center up in the Scottish Highlands, showcasing their staff members and guests. The same aspects that make the X100F so well suited for street also make it so great for portraiture because it just feels so much more approachable for a regular, everyday person to pose in front of. Whereas on the street, the X100F is unassuming, in portraiture that very same design becomes almost friendly. And while I wouldn't build an entire professional portraiture studio around this camera, I have actually gotten press-ready results out of it. In fact, I used the portraits from the series that I shot in a magazine for that very same client that ended up getting printed with 15,000 copies and distributed all around the world. So, you know, if the X100F is good for that, it'll be good for anything. The tide is very quickly rising. We're gonna roll through this real quick. So here we go. I wanna tell you the story of two hikes when it comes to landscape photography with the X100F, right? In 2016, I went hiking in Yosemite with two friends of mine, and I brought a ton of equipment. It was two Canon DSLR bodies, 4 lenses, 2 tripods, a gimbal, a GoPro, an audio recorder. Even though I had my friends there with me to help carry the equipment, and they were there to help take photos as well, so it wasn't just all about me. We still needed to stop often just to take a break from carrying all the gear. I mean, it was exhausting. It was not something I would have ever wanted to do alone, even though we got some amazing shots out of it. So fast forward now to 2019, and I'm hiking the Isle of Skye, and all I have are my X100F, a single tripod, and a few accessories. Now, this is easily the more strenuous hike because it was uphill the entire time. I never felt like the X100F on that trip was a drag. In fact, I carried all the gear that I brought on that trip by myself this time. And while we did stop every now and then to take photos, it was never because we needed to take physical breaks. The X100F forced me to stick to one lens, one body, and a much smaller one at that, and I was grateful for that. I used to think that you needed a whole set of bodies and lenses in order to shoot a proper landscape. But what I learned about myself is that I just don't enjoy lugging around a bag full of gear when I'm outdoors. Even if I had limitless funds, I'd still want something small and light like the X100F. I did another video detailing my entire setup for that, so make sure to check that out if you love to bring your camera outdoors. The tide is really high, and I hope that I can leave dry. Or at all at this point. Okay, so I did manage to make it out completely dry, thank God, with my bike and my camera equipment. That was all pretty much mostly dry, so you could walk right through it. The things that you do for art. A camera, like all gear, is just a tool. Or so we're told. Because when that tool is made with such clear intention and decisiveness, it seems to infuse it with a sense of soul. We can't help but emotionalize our relationship to it. It makes me wonder, if Fuji can do this with a camera, how can we, as photographers, filmmakers, artists, create work that is more decisive, that has the courage to cut away the cruft and stand up to make a bold statement. Creative work that means something.
You've got a meaning that matters to me. I know there's many more to be seen, but I know what you mean to me. Yes, I know. What you mean to me.
Now, if you're ready to take your creative work to the next level by making steady and consistent progress across all your creative projects, then take a look at my planner, the Playbook. It gives you research-backed tools to help you defeat perfectionism and procrastination so you can live every day feeling creatively fulfilled. This has been a 2-year-long labor of love for me, so every single detail in here is infused with intention and purpose. You can learn all about it at creativewarriors.life. I will see you there.
What you mean to me.